Let's welcome in our morning guest at this moment. Gaurang Shah is now joining us. Siddharth Sadani is with us. Amar Singh as well as K. Subramaniam is joining us this morning. Good morning, gentlemen. Gaurang, let's start with you. What are your calls?
Well, from a long-term perspective, we are positive on Bank of Baroda. We've recently revised the target upward to 195. The second one is Tata Motors, the whole host of downgrades. We are quite excited about the future going forward and the new launches both from the TAMO business as well as JLR business in the local and global markets. From the current levels, we believe your risk reward is extremely favorable with downside being protected. Very conservative target of 510, 520. And I'm quite sure and confident that as numbers unfold and the next earnings season comes, we are likely to see better earnings growth, and thereby we would revise the target upwards. So these are the two stock ideas from a delivery long-term point of view.
Right. Mr. Subramaniam, what's your call? It's the expiry today. Any names based on expiry?
Yeah, we have seen some interesting roles to begin with. Something like Karnataka Bank, that has been promising a breakout past 126 for the last, I think, few months. So that is probably going to happen. We expect it to happen sometime in the month of March. So we have seen some decent roles. So this could be bought for a possible target of 135, and maybe one could keep a stop loss of 118.
Just wanted to clarify, it's for today or for the next series?
For the next series.
Okay, so one has to look at the March futures.
That's right.
Okay.
And secondly, PFC, now after the frenetic rise that we saw on REC, PFC also seems to be gathering some momentum. Has seen some decent corrections. I think one could keep a stop loss of 131 by PFC, possibly a target of 148 could be expected. And also some of the cement counters look weak, so probably an Ambuja, which has seen some sluggishness, could slide to levels of 223, so it could be considered for selling. And maybe one could keep a stop loss of 243. And the last one, ACC, again some correction expected, could be sold for a possible target of 1375, stop loss of 1490.
Right. Amar, what are your calls?
Yeah, very good morning. The first is Kansai Nerolac. We've seen it rally by almost 5 to 6% of the last few trading sessions. So any pullback towards 359, 360 can be a buying opportunity with a stop loss of 355 and a target of 374. That's the first one. The second is Apollo Hospitals. Apollo Hospitals has really rallied significantly from below 1200 levels, almost 1190 to 1320, 25. So any pullback towards 1315 to 1320 can be used as a buying opportunity with a stop loss of 1290 and a target of 1374, because technically it's very strong on the charts. And the third is Hexaware. Hexaware also, if you look at Hexaware, yesterday was a very sharp up move for Hexaware. From the lows of the day it rallied and closed significantly higher. So Hexaware is a buy in the range of 215 to 217, the stop loss of 210 and a target of 229.
Siddharth, finally your calls as well.
Well, the first recommendation would be Britannia Industries from the consumption space. If you look at the numbers, it has shown 2% volume growth in the biscuit side, in the domestic biscuit segment. Along with that, expansion in margins also one of the things which we have seen in the results. New product launches along with cost efficiencies and the cost saving measures which company has been doing. Along with that, they want to expand in domestic and international markets. We believe Britannia seems very interesting with a medium to long term perspective with a target of 3750. The other second idea would be from the agri space, that is PI industry. If you look at the kind of product launches they have done in the past, that has increased the margins for them. Along with that, the CSM business has been doing very well. Even they have some kind of expansion there in the annual. Along with that, the export growth is coming very well. Positive cash flows are supporting the company's balance sheet. Along with that, what we believe that we can expect 20% CAGR growth in terms of EPS for between FY16 to 19. And the kind of trust we've seen in the budget, I think agri space needs to be looked at. I think PI industry fits the bill.
Right. Gaurang, did you see the Bharti Telenor deal? We just got that about 10 minutes back. Have you managed to look at it?
Oh, I'm afraid not. I was on the way, Pankaj. Haven't really looked at it. But on the entire telecom space, if you want me to comment on it, I think there is going.
So I'll just tell you about it, right? Yeah. So Telenor India's assets have been acquired by Bharti. They have not given the pricing. The pricing should be around the $300-350 million that they have acquired. and it gives them additional spectrum of 43 megahertz. That's in the 1800 band that they have. 7 circles is where Telenor India is operating right now, and all these 7 circles will be taken over by Bharti. They have not quantified the synergy benefits, but what we can pick up is that they would essentially get a lot of benefits in terms of these 7 areas, and the price that they have paid, because Telenor was slightly desperate to exit Indian assets, is something which is not very high. How do you view this consolidation in the industry?
Well, Pankaj, if you reflect a year back, and our view on the entire telecom sector was that there's going to be a high activity in terms of M&A. Point number one. Point number two, because of the spectrum cost, there are going to be players which have weak balance sheet and who will not be able to compete given the kind of tariff war that we would see. And the entire process of much more consolidation going forward from here is what our outlook was, even then and even now. So purely from an investment point of view and what has happened day before yesterday with Jio coming out with commercialized plans, our sense is it was a pleasant surprise, to be very honest, because we expected at least another quarter or two of freebies offered by Reliance Jio. But now with this 149 or 145 and 99 rupees membership and 303 plan and maybe much more at a higher level, the turnaround in terms of pricing power coming back is going to be much more faster. We are positive on Bharti. On Idea, we'll just wait for the positive news in terms of merger and valuation and the entire process and strategy. But our feeling is, Pankaj, that in the end you will have maybe about 2 or 3 big entities who will command a larger share of the market share, and thereby their earnings will be much more stronger than what we're looking at right now. But for this entire process, I think a year and a half, 2 possibly, is the time horizon that you should have in case if you're invested in cellular service provider sector.
So that's about Bharti. As you said, that Idea would be one of the interesting deals and you would wait for it. Today we are getting news flow from some of the reports that the combined entity will have a very big debt, and that's why they are looking for a big PE player to come and buy 15 to 20% stake into the combined entity. That's Idea and Vodafone. If that happens, it could be very big for the valuations.
Well, it all depends upon what the numbers are, Pankaj. Of course, it's going to be very interesting to see which is that player that's going to come back or take a large stake in this combined entity. Because if you look at the growth from here, well, it's not going to be a magical turnaround, let's face it. And even with the data plans and the higher end of the pyramid subscriber base is what people are going to target, or the incumbents are going to target, you are not going to get that kind of revenue. On the flip side, you also have the issue of freebies being offered in terms of voice services. So it's all going to be a development story. It's work in progress. And I think we should just wait out for some more details to come rather than jump the gun. But yes, overall, positive on Bharti Airtel. On Idea, our targets were in place of 120, 130 post the announcement of Vodafone wanting to buy into Idea. But again, we have a lot of clarity to come through. So we'll just hang on with Bharti as of now with a target of 420, at least in the long-term basis. We'll revise it as and when the story unfolds.
Mr. Subramaniam, on the FNO side, do you think Idea and Bharti will be interesting? Because after months, we've seen a good outperformance, so this month's expiry could be interesting for them.
Well, I think broadly the upside might have been done, because I don't see much of an upside from the current levels. And in fact, these shares could go into some sort of a band. The band might have shifted on the upper side. Like for example, maybe an Idea, probably the base would be 100 and maybe on the upside capped at 115 or thereabouts. And the case of Bharti, probably it was always struggling to go past 330. So probably the base would have go down to maybe to 320 and maybe 380 thereabouts. But I think the stocks are likely to be in some sort of a band in the near term, as Gaurav also mentioned. I think the next few months are going to be very critical. So probably the consolidation has to play out, and after that only we can see some sort of sharp movement in all probably the upside. So for the next few months, I think one has to wait it out and see how things pan out. But broadly, yes, the band might have shifted to the upside, but the upside for the current immediate short term could be kept.
Right. Siddharth, Reliance had a very big move yesterday. Any call on that stock post 10% move?
Well, it has been doing good. If you look at the traditional set of businesses like petchem or refining, it has been doing quite good. The kind of expansion they have gone through over a period of last 3 years, I think it's a time to reap the fruits of it. With this, the commercial launch of Jio is also one of the positives, and I believe that in the telecom space, I think data war will start now, because till now the freebies was offered by Jio. None of the company wanted to reduce. Little bit of a tinkering in terms of plans were done, but I think the actual price war was not done. Now, since the commercial launch has been done, I think price war will be done. On top of it, the consolidation phase is going on in the telecom space. I think that is also one thing positive. So overall, Reliance is quite positive, although we don't have a coverage or a rating out of that. But I think whatever historical underperformance is there, I think that's a pass.
Amar, what are you advising your clients on Reliance Industries?
Yeah, overall, the way Reliance rallied yesterday, it was just to sharper rally, and it's taken out the major resistance levels earlier of 1150, 1160 levels. So we'll have to wait for at least for today how the market plays out for Reliance.
Right. Okay, I think we have a issue with that network. But Siddharth, just a word on RCom as well, as we are talking about the telecom space. You think Reliance, Jio growing the way they have been, talking about their growth, will RCom also benefit?
Well, as we are talking about the consolidation phase here, I think RCom will also be into the groove of consolidation with someone. Although betting on RCom would be too much premature because of a reason, the kind of debt levels it possesses. I think it would be very difficult for other players or an incumbent to possess RCom. But still, we are still keeping our stance same, that we avoid the telecom space. Basically, on the back of that data war will now begin, and many of the incumbents are still charging voice charges, which Jio in their commercial launch has kept it as a free. So I think now the price war will begin. So better is to avoid the telecom space.
Right. Gaurang, Axis Bank, a quick view. In the last few days, it's done well. It's up 9%. Again, the takeover buzz in that particular company. What is your call on Axis Bank?
Well, whether takeover or not, or whether Suti sale or not, Pankaj, we've been positive post the third quarter numbers, which a lot of people on the market felt it was a disaster, and most of them had actually written out this particular stock. We maintained a positive target of 620 initially, and possibly we would revise it upwards thereafter as the earnings unfold. A lot depends, there are a lot of news flows, whether Kotak is going to buy into it, or whether any other bank is going to buy into it, or whether government wants to go and offload the Suti stake that is there. So a lot of news flows, lot of noise. Don't know what will emerge at the end. But I would not want to speculate on any of these news. I go purely by the fundamentals, and from that point of view, whether this stake sale happens or not, or whether somebody wants to buy it into or not, I think it's a great bank to be invested from a long-term point of view.
Right. Gaurang, as you said that Q3 numbers were not that great, and the street had cut down their estimates after that. Still, why you have a buy call? Do you think the worst is behind?
Pankaj, sadly, people just go by what the commentary is by a lot of participants in the market. You look at Tata Motors, you look at ICICI Bank, you look at State Bank of India, you look at Bank of Baroda, you look at PNB, which was one of the worst performers in terms of their exposure to vulnerable sectors like metals, etc. So there has to be a sunset and there has to be a sunrise, and we believe there is sunrise on Axis Bank. Management has done a lot. A retail loan book growth is going to grow exponentially given the kind of extra leeway that people will have in terms of consumption theme, and of course the entire positive impact of remonetization. And one cannot just write off a bank like Axis Bank.
Gaurang, I'll just come back to you. Markets have opened. We've got the first trade, 22 points higher for the Nifty, so slightly higher than what exchange was indicating. In fact, instead of the first pivot, we're actually starting around the first resistance. So 8,946 is where Nifty has opened. Sensex is up 71 points. Bank of Baroda is flat with a positive bias. Infosys is flat, about 6 rupees on the higher side. Aurobindo Pharma 677, about 0.50. Actually, no change for this name as of now. BPCL is also on the higher side. Bharti Airtel is the top gainer. Of course, it's a big news flow which we discussed earlier, 3% higher, 371.72. Telecom is in such a sweet spot that any news flow regarding merger, just look at Idea, it was up 5% yesterday, it's followed by another 6% today as well. Earlier reports indicate that over this weekend, that's 24th, 25th, they are likely to announce the deal with Vodafone. Now you're getting news reports which suggest that SoftBank, one of Japanese company, is also looking to invest as an investor into this company. Reliance was a big mover yesterday, and it's opened on the higher side, up close to about 6 rupees or so this morning, 1214. It's into a new price, it's into a new level. Even volumes today are not behind. Just within a minute, it's already seen 5 lakh shares in terms of volume. Idea Cellular, I think, would be the top gainer. It's up 5%. Bharti would be following it. So telecom as a pack is doing exceptionally well right now. Whether it's Idea, whether it's Bharti, you can even include Reliance into this. All these 3 top telecom companies are doing exceptionally well. Axis Bank on your screen, 523, no major move. Tata Motors up around 0.7%, 463. Bharti Infratel is on the lower side. So Idea and Vodafone merger would be negative for Bharti Infratel. And that's why probably it's on the lower side. Since the merger announcement, it has not done well, so that continues to be an underperformer. Tata Motors DVR about 0.2% here and there. NTPC is at 166 and Infosys is at about 993 rupees, about 4 rupees higher for Infosys right now. Power Grid 0.2%, 0.1% higher, 0.20 paisa on the higher side, and HDFC Bank 1,409. It's been one of the biggest performing bank in this series. That's because of that one FII day that you got. And Tech Mahindra is up around at 510. HUL is up around 3 to 4 rupees. Adani Ports is flat with a negative bias. Ambuja Cements absolutely flat right now. HDFC Limited is also up around 4 to 5 odd rupees. I think Bharti has extended on to gains. It's gone up to gain more than about 5 to 6 odd percent. So it was earlier not the top gainer. Idea was the top gainer, and now you look at Bharti, it's up 6%. 21, 22 rupees for Bharti. It could be because of expiry. It could be because of a lot of short covering as well when you see such big moves. But nevertheless, it's reacting to this news. And look at the volumes, 2 million shares. I'll just take out the volume data for Bharti and what it has essentially been. So on a daily basis, in the last 20 days, it's done about 4 to 5 million shares. It's already done 2 million within 2 minutes of trading session. Idea Cellular off the day's high, but still, it was up 5% yesterday. It's up another 4% today. So it's definitely a telecom day today, led by Bharti, Idea, and then probably what happens to Reliance would also be interesting. Arcom is up at about 36.50, but that's a name which has slight bit of debt issues there. They need to do a lot of more M&A to probably get some action. Idea is up another 4%, 7 million shares. HDIL is up about 2.8, 2.3%. Let's also look at some of the mid-cap names and what's happening. Okay, Jyoti Labs. So on Jyoti Labs, there has been a news report which suggests that Henkel is looking to increase its stake. Remember, Henkel already has stake in Jyoti Labs, and they have a pact before March 17 where they want to increase the stake or not. So the reports are suggesting that they'll go ahead and increase the stake, but the pact was always there. They always had that option. So let's see what happens. Kansai Nerolac is up about 2.6%. It was also a recommendation which came in from one of our 4 guests this morning. 374 for Kansai Nerolac. That's also a mid-cap mover. Crompton Consumer up 3%. 21,000 shares volume. You would just look at it and say it's not great, but for a company like Crompton Consumer, which doesn't trade that much, 25-30,000 shares seems to be decent. Coffee Day 236, that's about 5 to 6 rupees on the higher side. 236, 237 for Coffee Day, about 14,000 shares traded so far. CESE is down about 1.7. I think it gets ex-dividend also today, so that could be a news flow into this name. 35,000 shares traded for CESE, but it's also an ex-dividend day for CESE. Jindal Steel, that's JSPL, they had an analyst meet. Some interesting comments coming in on deleveraging, how they are looking for their business ahead, but down about 1.3%, but it was already down. It was already up about 20% ahead of this deal. Future Retail had bought some assets from Heritage Food, but it was about 4 months back that they announced it, and overnight they have given a disclosure that CCI, which is Competition Commission of India, has gone ahead and approved this. It's on the flat side. It's really not making much in terms of news flow. Some names that are attracting a lot of volume. So of course telecom, whether it's Bharti and Idea. Let's just look at Bharti again. Bharti is up 8% right now. 390 rupees for Bharti. That's clearly one of the big moves, and remember that even Bharti has a decent weightage. It's not as high as probably HDFC or what Reliance does. So it's Bharti still has a decent weightage. It's up around 8% or so. From last Friday, it's been quite interesting in terms of stock moves in the market. Every day you have one big large cap name that really moves quite swiftly. 8% today, it's probably Bharti's turn. Arcom is attracting volumes, but it's always been a volume counter. IFCI is up close to about 2% odd. Let's look at Amtech Auto as well. That's up around 3% right now. 37.38 for Amtech Auto. They have a board meet today, and where they have said that they are going to issue preferential shares. Now, no clue on what is the size or whom they are issuing, but that's probably a news flow that market would be waiting for. Crompton Greaves has extended onto its gains. I'm talking about the consumer business with 52,000 shares in terms of volumes. Jyoti Labs, we already spoke about it, so that's also a name which is doing pretty well. Overall, you just get a sense that it's telecom, and every day there is one stock which does well. Bharti right now is up a full 10%. It's almost as up as Reliance was on the entire day yesterday. That's also not a small stock. It's not as big as Reliance, HDFC, maybe even TCS, but definitely it's one of the biggest tracked names and very well covered name. Gaurang, what will be your call on Bharti after the 10% move?
Well, can't comment on short term like I mentioned, but we're maintaining, and remember one thing, Pankaj, when the Reliance Jio was launched last year, September, October, Bharti slipped to sub 300, close to 280 or 260 odd levels. Idea slipped to somewhere around 50 or 60 odd rupees. And from there, you see the recovery that these stocks have got in the span of just about 6, 8, 9 months. I still believe that there is a lot that is going to happen in the telecom space, and let's face it, Pankaj, if we are going to see digitization and data usage as it has been explained by a lot of industry participants and a verbatim given by Mr. Mukesh Ambani just 2 days back, and of course the government thrust for digitization, then there is going to be a lot of subscriber base which is going to use this data. And cell phone happens to be one of the most easiest and the quickest mode of communication and using this particular platform. And it is also a niche premium service that cellular service provider companies offer to its subscriber base. So my sense is that a lot of more activity is going to happen, a lot of more news flow is there. And if you actually 6 months back, you ask any person on the street whether they would touch telecom, they would, and it was an untouchable sector. And today, because of the news flows and the development, see the kind of attractiveness that these stocks have. So we remain positive. Like I mentioned, a lot of story, a lot of news flow, a lot of numbers awaited. So we'll just wait for that.
Right. Mr. Subra, you mentioned before the opening that the upside may be capped for these names. But with this sort of a move coming in at the start of expiry, you think further short covering rally cannot be ruled out?
Well, the data indicates that the short covering rally could possibly come into idea, because that was the one where we saw some pretty severe shorts, and if the data still clear indicates that there's some shorts probably will not get rolled over and maybe will sort of like to expire. So my sense is that idea could be the counter to keep an eye on. So probably near term one could see levels of maybe 125, but I would not look too much into this today's expiry, and if I were to put a cap, probably Bharti Airtel might spurt to levels of 404. That's where you'll have some good resistance coming about. So
for idea, as you said, what will be the levels to watch?
I think it could spurt to levels of maybe around 190 to 120. So I think that is the level where
I'm talking for Idea Cellular, 190.
190 to 120.
Okay, 119, not 190.
Yeah.
Okay, 119.
It's already reached there. So probably maybe the expiry will take over, and maybe we'll see some more spurt to levels of maybe 125. But I think better to be a bit cautious, because that momentum might not get carried forward in the next series.
Right. Amar, what will be your call on telecom? We spoke about Reliance, but any other, especially after the move today? Idea is up 6%, Bharti is up 10% right now. Okay, I think he cannot hear us. We'll just fix that. Siddharth, after a 10% move, Bharti started to look expensive. The day's high is 400. Right now, it's at 390.
Of course, market is rejoicing the kind of M&A activities along with the restructuring and consolidation which is happening with the telecom players. But having said that, what I still believe that I think the price war is still left. We are supposed to see a lot of price wars in the coming days to come, because the commercial launch of Jio has already happened. So now the price war in terms of data and voice, because voice has been offered by Jio completely free. So I think there would be pressure now, and very few players left in the industry. So of course it would be a healthy price war. So rather than that, I would say there would be a margin pressure going forward in the next 2 to 3 quarters.
Right, but in terms of telecom, you think markets have already started to price in a lot of benefit, because earnings have nowhere improved. Whether you look at Bharti, whether you look at Idea, maybe even if you would look at Reliance numbers till April, where till March, when till when the offer is going on, the numbers will definitely not improve.
Of course, numbers have not improved. The move what we have seen in Reliance also yesterday, along with what we are talking about Bharti or Idea today, it is all sentimental move, or one can say it's a more or less pricing in the positives which is going to come in the market. But I think the margin erosion and the kind of pressure and the data war and the price war which we are going to see, I think that will be seen in next 2 quarters.
Right. Gaurang, what will be your view on JSPL? Now, that's a stock which has done 20% higher. Yesterday, we had an analyst meet. Normally, in an analyst meet, you see the CEO and CFO, but even the promoter, Mr. Naveen Jindal, addressed investors. Do you think that these are signs of improvement? They want to tell the benefit or the changes that the company has done in the last 2 years to try and become slightly asset-light?
So from levels of 60-65 we had maintained, and in the entire metal pack, Pankaj, we had two coverage. One was Vedanta and the second one was JSPL. Vedanta from levels of 145-160 we had a positive coverage, and JSPL from 60-65 out levels, and our target was about 90-95 on JSPL, and that's very much in the place. Well, it was only long awaited, the address that the management gave to the investors and the media. It was long awaited and it was need of the hour. I think with the kind of strategy and restructuring that they are going through, it's only going to trim down the hefty weightage of debt on the balance sheet, and of course by selling of unviable assets which are not anywhere related to the core business that they are into. So my sense is at current levels, if you ask me whether one should invest, I would say wait for a dip. But yes, the exercise that the management is doing and the clarification and the strategy that they have come forward with and address the concerns of the investors, I think it's a good move forward, and it will definitely help to reinstate confidence which was lost post the negative news flows that we had on the management as well as on the company.
Right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Just before we go, Gaurang, quickly, disclosures.
Thanks, Pankaj, for having me on the show. No personal investments in any of the stocks that we have discussed, but these requests have been given to our clients as well.
Siddharth, for you?
No personal holding on the stocks which I have discussed. The clients or organization must be holding. Thank you so much.
Mr. Subramaniam, disclosures for you?
Well, the views were the same that we are given to our clients, but no personal holdings.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking out time for us this morning. Always good to get a perspective. On that note, we're taking a break. We're coming back in 2 minutes. We'll discuss about the telecom sector on the other side. Nitin Soni of Fitch Rating, he tracks telecom. He'll be joining us, followed by Saurabh Mukherjee of Ambit Capital.